Not all children's television was groundbreaking. The BBC's Watch with Mother strand had remained a repository of traditional values since the mid-1950s.
Hello, Andy Pandy.
But now, nothing was sacred. Seeking to reinvigorate its output, the BBC gave opportunities to young writers and illustrators, including David McKee.
My mother told stories and was a good storyteller. When my father told what had happened while he was away or whatever, it was always recounted as a story. At school they told stories, in the Scouts and the Cubs they told stories. Our friends told stories. Gradually I told stories first to myself and then to other people. And the first books I did were on stories that I'd actually told to friends.
Though he was a very conventional character, Mr Benn's visits to a fancy dress shop took him on exotic adventures. The jaunty theme tune had been composed by McKee's friend Duncan Lamont even before the character had been fleshed out.
And I said, Duncan, that's it, that's fantastic. Don't look for anything else, that's the tune.
Mr Benn was indoors reading a newspaper.
Mr Benn, I wanted to be a Mr. Everybody. I wanted Mr Benn to be the kind of person that anybody could associate with.
At number 52, Mr Benn looked out of his window.
And the kind of road in which he lived, it was important that that was also not something too posh or too poor, but just an ordinary road.
Inside the shop, as if by magic, the shopkeeper appeared. "Good morning, sir," he said. "Which costume would you like to try today?"
I wanted it to be a real adventure because I used to get really annoyed when I'd read a fantastic story and the whole trip ended in being a dream. So Mr. Benn's adventures had to be real adventures.
"We want you to cook something that will make her want to eat."
And that was one of the reasons he always brought back a souvenir with him, to remind him. And you don't bring back souvenirs from dreams, usually.
"What shall I do with this wooden spoon?" he asked. "You can keep that, sir," said the shopkeeper.
In fact, McKee only ever produced 14 episodes of Mr Benn, but the BBC has repeated the series more than 40 times. The fact that it was the fruit of a single vision, rather than the mass-produced output from an animation production line, may account for its success.
Nobody worried me. I made the films the way I wanted to. There was no committee decisions to weaken everything down. So the films would be stronger because it was one voice, I believe. And I think even if that one voice has mistakes in it, it has a lot more authenticity or a lot more character.
Watch with Mother then opened up to Eastern mysticism via the enigmatic personality of Bod, created by former Play School producers Joanne and Michael Cole.
It's autumn and the leaves are changing colour and falling. Aunt Flo is very sad to see all the leaves falling from her cherry tree, but Bod cheers her up. The leaves must fall before the blossom comes again in the spring, he tells her.
The animation style was largely dictated by a lack of resources and the technical limitations of animators Alan Rogers and Denise Shackle.
She wasn't really a full-blown animator and she treated it very much like a diagram type of animation thing. And I actually think that works really well. Frank walked like he was still on his bike, even though he wasn't. And we worked out a series of cycles, and we could reuse those cycles every time somebody walked in, so whatever they did the first time is the way they did it forever. Children do like repetition, and luckily repetition's cheaper.
That's so, isn't it? He says to Farmer Barleymow, who is passing by. Very much so, says Barleymow.
But its simple style suited the underlying spiritual message of Michael Cole's stories.
Michael Cole had a big interest in Zen tales, really, and Buddhist stories. He always wanted to put over a kind of a message of some sort, like when the cherry tree flowered and Aunt Flo really liked it, but of course all the blossom falls off. But you needn't be too sad, because soon the leaves come and soon you've got a green tree. And I think that was meant to be a kind of a way of always being optimistic about life. And that was what Bod sort of was, really. It was quite, on one level it was very deep, but on another level it was just pure nonsense entertainment. And I think Mike used to like to want to do both.